This is the LED fog light kit, and it's available for all 2019 to 2024 Ram 2500s. Now, you should be checking out these options if you maybe missed out on the factory fog lights for your HD and are looking for one of the most affordable factory-styled options here on the site to increase both your nighttime and bad weather visibility. Now, this kit will include a pair of LED fog lights here, along with the plastic trim rings and harness designed to fit in the factory bumper and can be had all for right around that low $200 price point. Now, as I mentioned at the very top of this video, this is going to be a very affordable solution for newer base HD owners out there who may have missed out on the factory fog light option and don't want to drop the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get the factory Ram components on the front of their truck. Now, on the other hand, maybe you have factory fog lights on your 2019 or newer HD, and maybe they've been beat up due to off-road abuse, rock chips, whatever. These would certainly be an affordable way to freshen up the factory fogs on your rig. Now, when installed, again, they will help provide better visibility during the nighttime, snowstorms, rainstorms, foggy situations, of course, thanks to the high-powered LED lighting, which, by the way, will be far brighter than any incandescent lighting. Now, on top of that, the LEDs loaded in these fogs will vibe very well with any factory or aftermarket LED headlights that you may have added to your rig. All right, getting into construction here a bit, guys, and I do want to point out that those high-powered LEDs are loaded into a factory-style housing here, which will fit the corresponding cutouts in your bumper perfectly. Of course, even if you don't have the fogs, this kit includes everything needed to get them in place, including the factory-style plastic bezels, brackets, hardware, all of that good stuff. And I do want to point out that on the factory-style bezels here, you do have the cutouts for your front-end parking sensors, which is nice. Again, it leads to a very factory-style appearance once everything's been installed. And again, there's really no modification to get these guys in place. Now, getting back to the fog lights here, and again, the housings themselves have been made from durable ABS plastic, as you can see. They are adjustable, meaning you can aim them properly, which is a nice thing to point out. And the inner housings here are given that chrome treatment, basically on the reflector side, just like the factory Mopar fogs on the HD. Now, in addition to that, guys, these are sealed up nice and tight. They do have a nice clear polycarbonate lens. And of course, they are given the DOT and SAE stamp of approval, which does make them legal for use in all 50 states. Now, I do want to mention as well that these fogs do include a pretty basic harness here that makes this a relatively easy plug and play job, thanks again to the harness and switch here. Now, I do want to point out that the switch itself is pretty basic. It's just basically on off. You can find a nice place to mount that if you'd like, or get a bit creative. That is up to you. But again, just keep in mind, there's plenty of wiring here needed to make this a very easy install, even if you're not the best with wiring. All right, price point for these particular fog lights with the harness and bezels will hover in that low $200 range, which again does make these one of the more affordable options currently on the site when talking about more of a factory style replacement. All right, now let's shift gears and talk more about the installation. And again, this one really won't be too bad here thanks to the included harness. So therefore, the site's gonna call this a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour or so to complete from start to finish. But now to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you will need a pry tool, various impacts, a ratchet, an extension, shallow and deep 10mm sockets, 13 and 18mm sockets, a magnet, a razor knife, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 13mm ratchet wrench, 8 and 18mm wrenches, a clip removal tool, some microfibers or a towel. Also not shown here is an extra set of hands to help you with your bumper, and for how we wired ours up, male spade connectors and T-taps.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing some fog lights on our Ram, so let's get started. Alrighty guys, so now we've got our truck up in the air because we need to remove our front bumper in order to install our fog lights. So it's best to do this from underneath. Now we're going to be popping out some push clips and removing some bolts. We'll show you where everything is, but it's definitely the best idea to remove your bumper first, so we'll get after it now. Alright guys, so first we're going to remove the push clips holding our little lower shroud to our bumper. You don't need to remove the whole thing. There's just about 5 of these clips holding it onto the bumper itself. So we've got a clip removal tool. I'm gonna get up in here. And these might be a little bit of a pain to get to at first. Just wanna make sure they're loose. This thing will kind of fall back down like so. Now the rest of the bumper to get off is pretty easy. We just have 2 bolts right here on each side for our frame horns. So we're gonna grab our 18mm socket on our impact and an 18mm wrench. And we're gonna remove the nuts. We're gonna leave the bolts loosely in place. Once we grab an extra set of hands, we'll pull this off. Now you can remove one from each side completely. Get this other one off. Now leave that bolt in. Then we'll do the same thing for the other side. All right guys, so now we have an extra set of hands to help us get this off, and we've got our table in place. We're gonna lay our bumper down on it. We do have some microfibers down because you don't wanna scratch chrome. We'll remove those last 2 bolts and put it on the table. Alrighty guys, so now that we have the bumper off, we're gonna need to remove these inner brace brackets so we can access our openings for where our fog lights are gonna mount. So they're held on by various 13mm bolts, as well as one of these push clips. So we've got a 13mm socket, a 13mm ratchet wrench, and a clip removal tool. We'll get these out so we can access these cover panels. Now we're gonna remove our push clip first with our clip removal tool. So we'll get that out. Then we can remove our top bolts with our 13mm socket on our impact. And once we have all those out, we can move around to our side bolts with our 13mm ratchet wrench. Now once you get this to a certain point, you'll be able to turn it out by hand. And this last one over here is a little easier to get to. Now once we have all of our hardware out, we can work this out of position. It's gonna be a little bit weird getting it out, but it will come out. Once you pop that edge, work this tab up, slide that out, and set it aside. Now these factory covers are held in by some T-nuts with 8mm nuts. So we'll get our 8mm wrench, and you just need to loosen these up a little bit, to be honest. They'll pop right out like so. We're gonna save these because we're gonna reuse them to mount our new front fascia. We have those out. Push this down and out. Now once you have this side completely disassembled, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Alrighty guys, now that we have our support brackets and trim out, we can install our new trim, which has the outlet for our fog lights, as well as if you have parking aid sensors, does have provisions for those. We don't have that on ours, so we're not gonna worry about it, but if you do have those, you're gonna need to address that as well. So we'll stick this in place. And these go in just as the factory ones came out. Pop those in. Now they are a little stiff out of the box. Make sure everything clips into place. Then we're gonna reinstall our little T-nuts and tighten those down. Now we're gonna get these in place just as they came out of the factory ones. Push these down in. Might have to hold this in place so it doesn't droop when you're trying to get these on.
Now we'll get all of our nuts hand tight first. Make sure our trim is sitting where we want it. We'll come back with our 8mm wrench, tighten these all down. Now we're going to mount our light onto our bracket, which is then going to mount onto our support bracket. So we want to turn this around. These are labeled for left and right hand side. So we're on the driver's side, that's going to be left hand. So we're going to insert our clips here into the square holes. Now that we have those in, set our light into our bracket. And our 4 mounting holes are going to line up. Once we have that on, we're going to get our 4 Phillips head screws started. Just want to get them so they catch. And we'll grab a Phillips head screwdriver and tighten these down. Make sure this stays pretty centered in your bracket the whole time. Now that we've got that on, we can install our bracket and then we'll install our light. Now we'll get our main support bracket back in place. Lift up on this little rubber part, seat this down in. Make sure that goes underneath. Line all this back up. So we'll get our 2 side bolts back in place first. It's much easier to do this while your bracket is loose. And we'll get our top bolts in. Along with our push clip, help line everything up. We'll grab our 13mm socket and tighten these all back down. Then we'll go back and tighten those 2 down. Now we've got our 13mm ratchet wrench for these. And for this one, you're going to have to use the open end for a little while. So now we can install our provided clips. Sometimes these get a little run out. You got to give them a little pinch. You want to line those up with the 4 holes our light is going to mount to. Make sure the threaded portion is facing towards your bumper. Now we can set our light in place. Now it has 2 locator dowels that are going to line up with these rectangular holes. That puts us in line with our mounting points. So we'll get our provided 10mm bolts started. And we're going to tighten those down with our 10mm socket. So now once you've got this side on, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Alright guys, so before we put our bumper on, we're going to get all of our wiring ran and get our connectors down into our bumper area. Much easier to do this first. So we're going to need to pass our switch wiring through our firewall into our cab. Now in order to do that, there is a grommet back here behind this auxiliary junction block. It's next to your brake booster that we need to access. Now this junction block kind of pretty much blocks the way completely, so we're going to need to unbolt it and move it out of the way. It's held on by two 10mm bolts right here in the front between that and the battery. So we're going to grab our 10mm socket and extension. We'll get those undone first. Now these are in a very tight spot, so it is very convenient to have a magnet on hand. So you can pull these out with your magnet as opposed to trying to get them just by hand. And once you get those out, you grab your block, gently move that out of the way. So it's going to go back and down. Now once it's down in this position, that gives us just enough room to access this grommet behind it on the firewall. Now you have a couple of options of ways of opening this up to get your wiring through. You can either cut a slit in it with your razor knife, although you should know it is kind of a balloon grommet, so it has two layers to it. Or you can do a combination of these two, cut a little slit, and we're going to get a pry tool in there and kind of wedge it to the side so we have enough room to slide our wiring through it and into the cab so we can get our switch in place. Now it is going to be much easier to unplug this switch from all the spade connectors that are on it and feed just the wires through and then plug it back in once we pass those through. You just want to remember which wires go where. So if you look at the front of your switch, you have the light, the actual light, and that's going to match up with your ground wire, your black wire. The white wire is going to be on the other side where the light indicator is, and the red wire is in the middle. So you just want to remember that. You can even take a picture of it if it helps. You're going to unplug these. Now you want to be careful when pulling these off. So once we've got those unplugged, we'll set the switch aside. Now you'll want to bundle all three of your wires together at their connector points and grab whatever tape you have available. That'd be duct tape, painter's tape, doesn't really matter, it just needs to hold it together. I'm gonna wrap this around. Try not to get it stuck on the rest of your harness. You want to keep it pretty tight because we want this as compact as possible. And we're going to be feeding a good bit of this harness through, so you want to have enough to go down a bit of your harness. It's going to add a little bit of protection as well as uniformity. And we're pushing this through. Make sure that's nice and tight on your tape, and you can kind of taper the end, give it a little bit of a point. That's also going to make it a little bit more rigid when we go through our grommet. So now we've got our harness prepped, we're going to grab a pry tool. We're going to get that in the side of our grommet. Wedge that with enough room. Get our wiring through. Now you may be able to just put it in a place and hold this open. You may need to work it a little bit. And we can get our harness fed down in there. Now we're inside our cab, down by our parking brake pedal. And you're gonna reach up through, grab your wiring that you passed through that grommet, and pull that out to an accessible point out here next to your dash. Then we can untape this. And once you have it untaped, you can grab your switch. This switch you can pretty much mount wherever you would like. If you wanted to, you will need to drill a hole in one of your dash panels, and that pops through and will grab onto it. For demonstration purposes, we're not going to be drilling a hole into our dash, but we are going to hook it back up. So the black wire is going to go at the light, red wire in the middle. Make sure those snap on completely, and our white wire on our logo side. So again, you can mount this wherever, however you'd like. We're gonna keep ours right around here, just for demonstration purposes. Alrighty guys, so now that we have our switch set up, we need to connect the rest of our harness up in the battery area. What we're gonna do first is come to the fuse section of our harness, and we're gonna remove that fuse. Pop the cover off. Pull that out. We can set that aside for now. That's going to keep our circuitry dead until we have everything hooked up and ready to go. So once we have that done, we're going to find the positive wire that goes with the fused part of our harness. We're going to hook that to our positive terminal on our battery. So we've got our 10mm socket. We're going to loosen up our pinch bolt rather. Now these are open-ended terminals on this, so we just need to loosen this a little. Take this, get that behind our pinch nut. Tighten that right back down. Now we have the power wire for our switch. Now you can hook this up to really any circuit that provides accessory power, or you can hook it up with your lighting. We're gonna do ours with our lighting. We already have a T-tab on our headlight harness, so we're gonna hook that right in. We have a male spade connector on the end of the wire. So we're gonna reach down. And you have direct access to your headlight plug. So we'll pop the tab off of that, unplug that. Now again, we already have a T-tab on our headlight harness, and the way that works is just going to clamp around your existing wire. It has a metal saddle, and then the connector itself can plug into the back of that tab. I know it's kind of tough to see, but we're just going to plug that right in. Again, this will allow our circuitry to be activated with the lights. Unless you want it to work completely independent, you can wire it up to another accessory power source. So we've got this plugged in. We'll get our headlight connector plugged right back in. Just like so. Now we need to hook up our grounds. So we're gonna come over to this body ground over here. You don't wanna hook this to your negative terminal on your battery. You wanna hook it to the separate ground over here. Now another thing to mention, you want to make sure everything's going under this support bar. You don't want it to be pinched when you close the hood. So we're going to loosen up our 10mm nut on our body ground. We're going to place both of these on the stud behind that nut. It's a little bit tricky getting two in there at once. Once you have both in place, you want to hold those and tighten that right back down with your 10mm socket. Now we're going to take the portion of our harness that connects to our fog lights and drop that down into our bumper area so we can have access to it when we reinstall the bumper and plug our lights in. Now there is a nice gap right by your washer fluid reservoir. You can send this down into your bumper area. Just need to get it down there a little bit, and we'll go to the front of the truck and pull that through. Alright guys, so now we're down in the front of the truck. We can find our connector for our fog lights. We're gonna pull that harness through and down. Now the shorter side is gonna be the one that's going to your driver's side fog light, and the longer one is going to go to the passenger side. Just gonna leave this over here for now. You can even tuck this connector back up here or even lay it back here, just as long as it's out of the way of where the bumper mounts up. Alrighty guys, so now we're ready to reinstall our bumper. So I've got an extra set of hands. We'll get this back up in place and get our factory hardware reinstalled. Now, since we don't have parking sensors, we're gonna install the supplied covers for our holes and just snap into place. You can do the same thing for the other side. All right guys, so now we're on the back side of our bumper. We're gonna get the rest of our factory hardware in. So, reinstall our factory nuts. You can do the same thing on the other side. Now we're gonna snug these down and adjust our bumper, again with our 18 mil socket on our impact. Once that gets to its snug point, you can kind of use the markings from your washer to adjust this, like so. We will tighten these down fully. Hold that in place, and we can tighten down the rest of our hardware. And we can do the same thing for the other side. Now that we have our bumper bolted down, we'll plug in our fog lights. So we have our shorter connector in for our driver's side. Get that locked into place. Then we can do the same thing for our passenger side. Now we can go into the area between our bumper and grille and reinstall our push clips for our little shroud. Now once you've made sure everything is good, we can reinstall our auxiliary fuse block. Pick that back up into position, line that back up. We're going to use our magnet once again to get our bolts back in place. Sometimes this thing really doesn't want to go back in place, so just be patient with it. Now once you have your bolts back in place, we'll come back with our 10 mil socket and extension and tighten those down. Next, we can go back to our fuse block, reinstall that fuse, close that cover back up. Now for the rest of your harness, as long as it's tucked up out of the way, it's fine. You can feel free to make this your own. You can tuck it, clean it up however you'd like. That's really up to you. Just as long as everything is out of the way of any hot or moving parts, because you don't want to damage the harness or the vehicle in the process of installing this. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our LED fog lights with chrome housings and clear lenses for your 19 to 24 Ram 2500. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.